does Bitcoin to 1 million actually look like in terms of adoption, energy usage, etc.? Like how in what type of time frame can we put that?
Yeah. Sure. Well, what we need to get to 1 million is we need for it to double a little over 3 times, right? And right now, the doubling time is about 2 years, but getting a little longer all the time. So to get to 3 doubles is going to be about 7 years, and to get to 1 million is going to be about 8 years. So I think on the Power Law Core trend, it's about 2033. It could happen sooner with the big bubble. And I'll show you some kind of forecast trends that take into account the nature of the bubbles and how they're declining and the Power Law Core. And this slide gives you a setup for that. If we just look at the core, that's the green line, and this is showing what the uncertainty is, the standard deviation. It's been flat. So if you just look in the core, it's about a 20% standard deviation. I use a rolling 4-year average to kind of smooth things out. But if you look in the red line, that's the bubbles, and we see the standard deviation has dropped very significantly from over 100% down to 40%. And right now, according to this best fit curve, it's about 37%. So these two are approaching each other. In other words, the bubbles are getting less energetic, lower standard deviations. And you can actually fit that with basically a reciprocal relationship where it's falling roughly as 1 over the age of Bitcoin. A little bit of an offset so that you don't go to infinity at the origin, but it's basically a reciprocal. So if you then take the quantile regressions and you take what I just showed you on the last chart, and then I have this kind of new forecast method that says, okay, what's the bubble mean? Not just what's the Power Law Core mean, but what's the mean for the bubble? And then what's the standard deviation size for the bubble? And then look at the right side of the bubble, the +1 standard deviation and the +2 standard deviation for the right tail of the bubble is where your extreme prices can be. And given that that's only half the data in the bubble, then that means you've got about an 8% chance of being 1 standard deviation on the right side and only about a 1% chance of being 2 standard deviations. So you shouldn't expect much more than that. And in fact, if you think about a bubble as 2 years, the +1 standard deviation is something like 8 weeks of possibility, and the 2 standard deviation is only about 1 week of possibility. So if you look at, just a year from now, then the bubble mean would be about 150,000, and the 1 and 2 standard deviations would be 210 and 265. So that's kind of a path. If you want to know how the Power Law Core develops with time, it's a very simple relationship. I don't have it here, but you just take the inverse of the age, you add 1 to it. And so if the age is, say, 17 at the end of the year, you take the inverse of that, you're at 6%, right? 1 over 17 is about 0.06. You add that to 1, you raise that to the Power Law Index, which is 5.8 in our case. That number is the ratio of price increase for the Power Law Core.